Thank you, Tim. Let's all take the pledge of value, creating value. I love that story. I'm going to bring up our other two MCs. We're going to do a little wrap up, and then we're going to ask Marla to close us out.
All right, it's been an amazing 2 days. In 10 minutes, we're going to share 10 takeaways. Okay, you go first.
Tim Williams, there are a lot of compensation hacks that we can learn from. Change tomorrow.
Everything Tim said was so good. I just filled up 2 pages, but you already said that. I'm going to go with, I loved Mike Edelhart's session earlier. The question of what if we couldn't run ads? And I had the sort of epiphany later on that was actually what CES is. When you go to CES, you're looking at a world of what if we couldn't run ads, and that's why all of our clients are there.
So I have, in the quantum age of marketing, transformation needs to be personal and organizational. Prepare yourself personally, then reset the people, and then the organization.
The client panel, Tanuja and a couple others talked about our competitive set has changed significantly. It's not just other agencies, but it's tech, it's tools, and it's other platforms.
I'm a sucker for a good metaphor, so I loved Natasha Bowman's analogy earlier. I tweeted this out as well on Monopoly. That idea that the power structure is like playing a game of Monopoly where they've been going for half an hour before everybody else got there, so resonated with me as a light switch of understanding that. I thought that was really powerful.
So I loved Frances's from Walrus. One of her statements was durability to fight above your weight with determination, transparency, and speed. I think it was a pretty interesting way as she thought about, how does her agency, fight the fight below her weight, what she was asking everybody in her team to do, and that was the whole notion of durability.
I thought Casey Burnett's story about what CMOs are really thinking and how much time they spend thinking about us was particularly enlightening for me.
Okay, I didn't want to like this one as much, but Rob from EY. Operational rigor was one of the key things that they talk about. And I got to be honest, if you're really looking at what the consultancies are good at, this operational rigor and the structure that they have, and they're ruthless about that. I've been at a lot of different agencies, and I've never seen an agency that runs as well-oiled as that. That's maybe because we're creative, and so we don't do that. But that's something to compare ourselves against.
So I'm actually going to build on that because I thought Rob's presentation of, you can't compete with the enemy you don't understand, and the fact that she's a 27-year-old, I was still fascinated about that.
Do the math on that, because that's the average
That's
age?
the average.
So that means
27.
that some of them are 12, I think, to balance out all the others.
Well, I also think about 27-year-olds in agencies, and you're kind of just warming up at that standpoint. But she's bringing the power of the firm, that organizational rigor, the fact that everything that they do has to be future-proof, which was a really interesting aspect. Not to be afraid to be expensive. When I talked to Rob pre-meeting, I had talked to folks at McKinsey and Boston Consulting Group, and they do not apologize for how expensive they are. And that's why I also love pricing strategy. And I am determined to figure out the fact that he won't talk about being margin-centric, and he won't say what the margin is. It just has to be off the chart. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So we're going to find that out.
Yeah, we were excited, and Tim's were excited about 30% margin.
Yeah, I think it's way.
I think it's way
more
beyond
than that.
I think
I think it's so ridiculous that he's embarrassed to say it.
Yeah. The other question is, what am I paying a 27-year-old, and what is he paying a 27-year-old?
Yeah.
Right. But again, he has the power. She has the power of the organization and all that it
implies.
But there's an accountability aspect for the 27-year-old. So
I have bonuses if we want to keep going. It was really hard. We agreed earlier we were going to each come up with 3, but actually we still have 5 minutes left.
Yeah. Well, I have another question for us too.
Oh, I'll just share one more. I thought it was super helpful listening to Steve Bowler earlier about the onboarding process and having a real structure for that. We do a lot of, and feedback as well with your existing clients. We do a lot of that internally where we discuss amongst ourselves and we figure out what did we do and all that stuff. But it's pretty rare that we have that kind of conversation externally with our clients, especially over a long period of time. There's always a fear that they'll bring up something negative, and we shouldn't have asked the question. I like getting beyond that.
I loved Marla's conversation about the 5 dynamics of the new age. I'm not sure it all sunk in, so I need to go back and look at those slides. She went through those pretty fast, but that was really important as we think about where we're taking our business.
I definitely want to think about the music to make sure, there's workplace enlightenment. But probably one of my last takeaways is also choose the penny over the $100 anytime.
Yeah, I like that.
I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, one last question. So in the spirit of Tom Finneran's legacy, because this is it, okay, and we have to, move forward without you. What was a topic that we talked about today that we really need to kind of think about next year or the year after and the year after that we really need to start digging deeper on? Because this was an unbelievable 2 days with lots covered and all that. In some places we only skimmed the surface. And so what were those areas? So this is sort of the pre-sell for next year and starting to program.
We joked it's stuff you can start thinking about for next year.
Well, no, it all needs to be planned out before the end of June, right? So what's the top?
We talked about everything affecting our business the last 2 days, I think, but I never get tired of hearing the client voice in here. And so more client, more stories, I would think would be wonderful.
My big one is implementing change. We hear a lot of really great stuff, and as is usual with these sort of things, those of us that are here will then go back to our agencies and have to convince that entire organization that what we heard was brilliant, without the benefit of hearing it firsthand from everybody and having this experience. That implementation is always a challenge, and building tools to be able to take things like what Tim just talked about. I know we could just hire you, but yeah. Besides that, and bringing it back to the agency.
I actually talked to Tim earlier as well, because we've implemented a lot of what he's talked about, and it's hard. And we should dig deeper in saying, like, all right, if you really want to implement some of this stuff, what are the real practical things? And what works, what doesn't work, what are you up against? And just dig deeper from that standpoint. So we're out of time. And thank you, everyone, for the last 2 days. We're going to bring Marla back up here. And that's it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marla.
Thank you, Tom.